The bustling activity aboard the International Space Station Europa ceased instantly as the hegemony ship emerged from its spatial distortion field. Silver gray and seemingly without seams, the alien vessel dwarfed the station, positioning itself precisely 10 kilometers away, close enough to convey dominance, yet far enough to appear non-threatening. Admiral Helena Chen watched from the observatory deck, her weathered face betraying no emotion. "They certainly know how to make an entrance," she murmured to Dr. Raj Patel, Earth's foremost xenolinguist. "What do we know about them so far?" "Not enough," Patel replied, adjusting the neural interface clipped to his temple. "The translation matrix is still processing their initial transmission. They call themselves the Enlightened Hegemony of 17 Suns, or something close to that effect." The station's diplomatic reception bay had been hastily reconfigured for the meeting. Earth's united government had prepared for this moment for decades, but the actual arrival of alien visitors had still caught humanity off guard. Not that Chen would ever let the visitors know that. When the hegemony delegation materialized in the reception bay rather than docking conventionally, security teams tensed but maintained discipline. High Ambassador Valthek stood nearly 3 meters tall, his iridescent carapace shifting colors with each movement. 4 smaller Arxians flanked him, their compound eyes constantly scanning, cataloging, assessing. "Greetings, representatives of Earth." Valthek's voice emanated not from his mandibles, but from a translucent device at his thorax. "We bring enlightenment and order from the galactic hegemony." Admiral Chen stepped forward, offering a traditional bow rather than attempting the complex Arxian greeting rituals Patel had hastily briefed her on. "Welcome to humanity's home. I am Admiral Helena Chen, appointed representative of the United Earth Government." Valthek's upper limbs performed an elaborate gesture that the translation matrix couldn't interpret. "We have observed your energy signatures across multiple systems. Your development rate is unusual." The diplomatic dance continued through a formal tour of the station. Valthek's entourage meticulously documented everything, their neural interfaces feeding data directly to their vessel. They seemed particularly fascinated by the station's hydroponics bay, where Earth plants grew alongside experimental alien flora from humanity's colony worlds. "You have established habitation beyond your home system without our guidance," Valthek observed, mandibles clicking in what Patel later identified as surprise. "This is unprecedented for a species at your development stage." Chen maintained her diplomatic smile. "Humanity has always been curious about what lies beyond the next horizon, Ambassador." The true culture clash became apparent during dinner. 2 engineers at a nearby table engaged in a heated debate about reactor efficiency, their voices rising as they gestured emphatically at a holographic schematic floating above their meal. The Arxian delegation froze, their compound eyes fixed on the argument. "Is this combat ritual common?" Valthek asked, his translator struggling with the concept. Chen laughed naturally. "That's just Yoshida and Mbeki. They've been arguing about engineering principles since academy days. They're friends." Valthek's exoskeleton rippled in a pattern that the translation matrix flagged as extreme confusion. "You permit such emotional volatility among your technical specialists." "We encourage diversity of thought," Chen replied. "Some of our greatest innovations have come from passionate disagreement." As the engineers' debate concluded with laughter and a shared toast, Valthek's attendants exchanged glances that required no translation. The diplomatic crisis point came during the formal presentation of gifts. The hegemony delegation presented elaborate crystalline structures containing what they described as permitted knowledge, carefully curated technological insights deemed appropriate for humanity's developmental stage. In return, Chen presented a data crystal containing Earth's music, art, literature, and scientific achievements. Valthek examined it briefly before setting it aside with visible disinterest. "We have reviewed your civilization's parameters," Valthek announced as dessert was served. "Your species will benefit greatly from hegemony guidance. Of course, certain research avenues must be abandoned. Your work in quantum entanglement communications, neural interfacing, and gravitational manipulation exceed permitted development trajectories for new member species. The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Chen set down her coffee cup with deliberate care. Ambassador, we appreciate your insights, but humanity has never been particularly good at staying within boundaries set by others. Valthek's translator paused, as if processing the polite defiance embedded in her words. You misunderstand, Admiral. These are not suggestions. The hegemony maintains galactic harmony through careful management of technological proliferation. Your compliance is expected, not requested. Chen's smile remained, but her eyes hardened. Perhaps we should continue this discussion tomorrow, Ambassador. Allow us to show you to your accommodations. Later that night, as the Orcs returned to their vessel for what they called restoration cycles, Chen met with Earth's Security Council via quantum-encrypted link. They're cataloging this, she reported, not as equals, but as potential assets or threats to be managed. Their technology is advanced, but oddly specialized. They seemed genuinely disturbed by our psychological makeup. On the secure channel, General Okafor frowned. What are your recommendations, Admiral? Chen's expression was grim. Accelerate the Eclipse protocol. If they're monitoring our official channels, let them see exactly what we want them to see. But beneath the surface, she paused. Beneath the surface, prepare for all contingencies. As she ended the transmission, Chen gazed out at the alien vessel hovering beyond the station. Its gleaming hull reflected Earth's blue glow, beautiful, powerful, and utterly convinced of its own superiority. Welcome to humanity, Ambassador, she whispered to the empty room. I hope your hegemony is ready for us. Unbeknownst to Chen, silent probes detached from the hegemony vessel, scattering across Earth's solar system like metallic seeds. In his private chambers aboard the Eternal Wisdom Valthek composed his preliminary report. Subject species demonstrates alarming cognitive dissonance. They smile when threatened. They argue for pleasure. Their historical archives are primarily records of warfare, yet they present themselves as peaceful explorers. Exercise extreme caution. Recommend immediate containment protocols before further expansion occurs. As the first light of Earth's sun illuminated the station, humanity's first contact with alien life continued along its seemingly cordial path. Neither side revealed their true intentions. Neither side revealed their true capabilities. And neither side realized just how catastrophically they were misunderstanding each other. The UESS Discovery drifted silently through the Cygnus Rift, its sleek hull designed to minimize detection while conducting deep space surveys. Dr. Eliza Okafor stood on the observation deck, watching as the neutron star KX 1127 pulsed in the distance, its clockwork rotations bathing the ship in rhythmic waves of radiation that the shields easily deflected. Magnificent, isn't it? Dr. Kwan, the ship's exobiologist, joined her at the viewport. In his hands, he cradled a transparent container holding what appeared to be a hybrid organism, part earth orchid, part alien fungus. The fungal spores we collected from Proxima b have successfully bonded with terrestrial plant cells. First successful xenobotanical hybridization in history. Okafor smiled. The agricultural applications could revolutionize our colony food systems. The ship's intercom interrupted their conversation. Dr. Okafor to the bridge. We've detected unusual radiation patterns at bearing 047 Mark 16. On the bridge, Captain Wen gestured to the main display where energy fluctuations pulsed in impossible patterns around the neutron star's accretion disk. Long-range sensors show artificial structures, definitely not natural formation. Hegemony? Okafor asked. Unknown. We're well outside their claimed territories, but the technology signature matches their quantum manipulation patterns. He turned to his communications officer. Keep us at passive observation range. Record everything. The massive crystalline structures surrounding the neutron star revealed themselves as the Discovery edged closer. Like geometric spiderwebs, they fragmented spacetime itself, harvesting energy directly from the warped gravity well. "Those are neutronium extractors," whispered the science officer. "They're literally mining concentrated neutron material from the star." Captain Wen's expression hardened. According to the hegemony's own regulations that they so proudly presented to Earth last month, this type of stellar manipulation is prohibited near star systems with potential for life development. "The hypocrites," Okafor murmured. "Sir," the tactical officer's voice tensed, "we've been scanned." A vessel just detached from the far side of the operation. On screen, a jagged, asymmetrical ship accelerated toward them. Unlike the elegant Arxian designs, this vessel was brutal in its construction. A Vrexian harvester, according to the limited hegemony species database they'd been given. "Hail them," Wen ordered. "Standard diplomatic protocols." "They're not responding, but weapon systems are powering up," the tactical officer reported. "Sir, our shields aren't rated for." The first plasma lance caught the Discovery across its port nacelle, vaporizing the metal instantly. The ship lurched violently as emergency bulkheads slammed shut. "Evasive maneuvers," Wen commanded, but the research vessel's engines were no match for a warship. The second impact tore through the main hull, explosive decompression claiming the lives of 6 crew members instantly. "All hands, abandon ship." Wen's final order echoed through the failing communication system as the bridge ceiling collapsed, crushing him beneath a support beam. In the chaos that followed, Okafor found herself dragging the unconscious pilot, Emmett Chen Haggerty, through smoke-filled corridors. The ship's spine had been sheared nearly in half, the artificial gravity fluctuating wildly. 3 other survivors converged on the auxiliary escape bay. Dr. Kwan clutching his precious hybrid specimens, Engineer Santos with blood streaming from a head wound, and Ensign Mbiki, the young communications officer. "The primary escape pods are gone." Santos coughed through the acrid smoke. "Only the maintenance pod is operational." The tiny pod, designed for external hull repairs rather than extended life support, was their only hope. As they sealed themselves inside, the Discovery's reactor containment failed. The ship that had been humanity's proud explorer of the unknown vanished in a flash of light and radiation. For 23 days, the pod drifted. With life support designed for 72 hours, Okafor implemented desperate measures. Using surgical tools from the first aid kit, she extracted shrapnel from Chen Haggerty's chest cavity, while Santos reconfigured the pod systems to extend oxygen recycling. Kwan's hybrid plants proved unexpectedly valuable, their enhanced photosynthesis supplementing the failing oxygen generators. Every day, Okafor recorded their findings on the Vrexian attack, using the pod's limited power to maintain the crucial evidence. When Mbiki succumbed to internal injuries on day 17, they mourned briefly, then used his ration allocation to keep the others alive. On the 23rd day, as consciousness wavered in the carbon dioxide-rich atmosphere, proximity alarms chimed weakly. Through the viewport, Okafor saw salvation. The UES Indomitable, a patrol vessel responding to the Discovery's automated distress beacon. As she was carried aboard, clutching the precious data core containing evidence of the unprovoked attack, Okafor whispered to the rescue team's commander, "They need to know. Everyone needs to know what they did to us." Within hours, the quantum net across human space blazed with the footage. Public memorials for the Discovery's crew materialized on every colony. When the hegemony's official response came, a terse message promising to investigate alleged incidents in unauthorized exploration zones, the rage that swept through humanity was as incandescent as the Discovery's final moments. In the closed emergency session of the United Systems Parliament, Admiral Chen played the classified recording of a hegemony official dismissing the incident to an Arxian superior. "A few dead humans is hardly worth disrupting profitable trade relationships." The Military Readiness Act passed unanimously. The Eclipse Protocol moved from preparation to active status. Humanity had extended its hand in peace. The hegemony had answered with fire. The Grand Chamber of the Hegemony Security Council on Arxia Prime had not witnessed such discord in centuries. Beneath the crystalline dome that captured and amplified the light of 3 suns, 17 species representatives argued in a cacophony of sounds, translator units struggling to keep pace. Order. I demand order. Sub-Vizier Xandar's voice reverberated through the chamber, his exoskeleton flushing crimson with exertion. Intelligence Director Moxar, her segmented body coiled tensely around her elevated platform, activated the central holographic display. Observe the contradictions, she hissed, manipulating the interface with delicate appendages. The display showed humans using primitive chemical propulsion for orbital shuttles alongside quantum entanglement communication devices that bypassed conventional lightspeed limitations. Their technological development pattern defies all established models, Moxar continued. They lack grav manipulation for simple transport, yet their quantum physics applications exceed our predictive matrices. A Palaxian delegate, fur bristling with agitation, gestured toward a different display. More disturbing are their entertainment broadcasts. The screen shifted to show human military simulations, interactive historical programs recreating ancient battles from Earth's bloody history. They are rehearsing, whispered the Palaxian, constantly refining tactical scenarios. For millennia. The chamber doors parted. Conversations ceased as Elder Vizier Kulthar entered, his ancient form so calcified with age that servo mechanisms whined with each laborious step. The oldest living Arxian rarely left his regeneration chambers. His presence signified grave circumstances. 2,000 cycles ago, his voice crackled through antique vocal processors. I counseled restraint when we discovered the Palaxians. His compound eyes swiveled toward the fur-covered delegate. The council chose suppression instead. 3 centuries of bloodshed followed before subjugation was complete. Cluthar's attendant adjusted his life support connectors as he continued. I sense greater danger in these humans. Their evolutionary path is unprecedented. A species that evolved not through stability, but through constant crisis. Their neural architecture reflects this chaos. Moxar projected new data. Humans can process contradictory information simultaneously. They experience emotions we cannot comprehend, concepts their translators render as bittersweet or nostalgic. Their brains form connections through logical leaps rather than sequential processing. Enough deliberation, barked War Commander Vextil. The solution is obvious. Every potentially disruptive species requires the same treatment. Overwhelming force, applied decisively. Cluthar's mandibles clicked in disapproval, but the younger council members chittered in agreement. Grand Admiral Zextor, recently promoted after distinguished service suppressing the Rigelian uprising, stepped forward. I propose a standard pacification fleet. 30 warships should suffice. It has for every previous case. These are not like previous cases, Kulthar warned. His objection was overruled. Within 12 cycles, the pacification fleet assembled in high orbit above Arxia Prime. Zextor's personal battle cruiser, Inevitable Dominance, gleamed in the triple sunlight, its hull inscribed with the names of 17 conquered species. As the fleet prepared for departure, Zextor received a final briefing from Moxar herself. Intelligence suggests their home system is minimally defended. Their colonial military assets appear primitive. As expected, Zextor's mandibles formed the Arxian equivalent of a dismissive smile. Your concerns are noted but unnecessary, Director. We have pacified dozens of emerging civilizations. These humans will learn their place, as all others have. On Earth, systems throughout the solar defense network detected the quantum ripples of multiple vessels entering the outer system. At Lunar Command, the recently promoted General Okafor, her recovery complete but scars still visible from the Discovery incident, studied the tactical display with cold fury. They're making no attempt to mask their approach, noted her XO. 30 vessels, heavy configuration. They want us to see them coming, Okafor replied. Psychological warfare. Activate Protocol Thermopylae. Throughout the system, civilian vessels received coded quantum pulses. Hidden compartments unlocked. Weapon systems came online. Mining platforms silently repositioned themselves. Ambassador Xiang, an elderly diplomat with a deceptively gentle demeanor, composed humanity's response from a secure facility beneath Geneva. Her message was broadcast on all frequencies. This is Ambassador Xiang of Earth. We respectfully suggest you reconsider your current course of action. Humanity has never sought conflict beyond our borders, but we must warn you that provoking war with us would be the gravest mistake your hegemony has ever made. We are prepared to negotiate as equals or defend ourselves as necessary. The choice is yours. Aboard the inevitable dominance, Zextor played the message for his bridge crew. Their translator rendered the human's calm voice with perfect clarity. After a moment of silence, chittering laughter erupted across the command deck, a sound that would have chilled human blood had they heard it. Zextor's primary limbs gestured for silence. Record the human's reactions to our disciplinary strike. The Council enjoys watching new species learn their place in the natural order. He selected Lunar Base Armstrong, the visible military installation that intelligence had identified as a command center, and authorized weapons release. A minor demonstration. He instructed his weapons officer, enough to shatter their primitive defiance. Brilliant energy lances prepared to deliver the hegemony's lesson in galactic hierarchy. Lunar Base Armstrong erupted in blossoms of fire and crystallized oxygen as the hegemony's plasma lances sliced through the reinforced domes with surgical precision. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, saving some compartments, but entire sections were exposed to vacuum in seconds. 342 human lives were extinguished in the first strike. Scientists, engineers, and military personnel who had devoted their careers to humanity's expansion among the stars. In his command chair aboard the inevitable dominance, Zextor observed the destruction with professional detachment. The precision strike had successfully neutralized 72% of the base's functionality, while leaving enough infrastructure intact for future hegemony use. Casualties confirm effective demonstration, reported his tactical officer. Preparing formal surrender demand as per protocol. Zextor's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Broadcast on all frequencies. Use the standard template for Class 3 species integration. The tactical officer's appendages danced across the control interface, but abruptly froze. Admiral, I'm detecting anomalous energy signatures throughout the system. Specify, Zextor ordered. Multiple vessels. They're changing configuration. Confusion colored the officer's voice as the tactical display erupted with new contacts. Throughout the Sol system, humanity's disguised fleet revealed itself. Cargo vessels jettisoned false hulls, exposing weapon mounts. Passenger liners reconfigured, armor plates sliding into position over vulnerable sections. Mining platforms rotated, their industrial lasers recalibrating to military specifications. Most shocking was the sudden appearance of 36 warships from behind Mars, their heat signatures perfectly masked within the planet's thermal wake. A tactical innovation no hegemony strategist had ever considered. Impossible, Zextor whispered, compound eyes dilating with the first flicker of uncertainty he had felt in decades of military service. Where were they hiding? The answer came in a devastating demonstration. The human vessels executed maneuvers that hegemony tactical computers classified as physically unachievable. Their pilots withstanding G-forces that would reduce any hegemony species to pulp. Aboard the human vessel Remembrance, Flight Commander Kira Yoshida addressed her squadron, her voice calm despite the crushing pressure of acceleration, pressing her into her gel-cushioned seat. Phoenix Squadron, execute Maneuver Delta 7. Her hands danced across the neural interface, the fighter responding as if it were an extension of her body. For the Discovery, her fighter broke formation at 15 Gs, a maneuver the hegemony targeting systems labeled suicidal. The Arxian gunners, trained to anticipate reasonable evasion patterns, missed entirely as Yoshida's squadron slipped through gaps in the defensive grid that shouldn't have existed. The battle unfolded with horrifying speed. Human vessels operated with a combination of collective coordination and individual initiative that confounded the strictly hierarchical hegemony command structure. Every hegemony tactical adjustment was anticipated and countered before it could be fully implemented. At Earth Defense Command, General Okafor watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. The quantum-encrypted distributed defense network functioned perfectly, sharing tactical data across all human vessels while allowing individual commanders to make real-time decisions without waiting for central authorization. "Target their flagship," she ordered. "Kinetic penetrators only. I want their databases intact." The Dauntless, a human destroyer already critically damaged by hegemony weapons, received the order. Captain Ananya Singh, blood streaming from a head wound, surveyed her broken bridge. Half her crew lay dead, life support failing. "Helm, plot intercept course with the hegemony flagship," she ordered. "All remaining power to engines." "Captain," her XO protested, "we won't survive another engagement." Singh's smile was terrible to behold. "We're not engaging. We're becoming the weapon." The Dauntless accelerated toward the inevitable dominance, its reactors pushed beyond safety parameters. This willingness to self-sacrifice shocked the hegemony commanders, whose species had evolved with powerful self-preservation instincts that made such tactics unthinkable. On the burning bridge of his flagship, Admiral Zextor stared in disbelief at the tactical display, showing 23 of his 30 ships, destroyed or disabled in under 4 hours. A support beam crashed down, impaling him through his thorax. Icar pooled beneath him as he dragged himself to the emergency quantum transmitter. With failing strength, he composed one final message to the hegemony homeworld. "The humans, they're not like the others. Their ships were hidden, in plain sight. They willingly fly into certain death. They're used to fighting wars. This isn't their first. It's in their history. Millions of wars. Against themselves. Warn the Council. They're all ready." The transmission ended abruptly as the Dauntless, now a relativistic weapon traveling at 0.3 feet, struck the inevitable dominance. The mighty flagship disappeared in an expanding sphere of superheated plasma and shattered dreams of easy conquest. In the sudden silence that followed, the remaining hegemony vessels, disoriented without central command, found themselves surrounded by a battle-ready human fleet that had revealed only a fraction of its capabilities. Admiral Chen's voice cut through all channels. "Hegemony vessels, your flagship is destroyed. Your admiral is dead. You have 2 options. Surrender and be treated according to human laws of war, or continue this fight to your destruction. You have 5 minutes to decide." As the human fleet closed formation around the survivors, the hegemony experienced something entirely new in its 1,000-year history of expansion: the taste of decisive defeat. 3 kilometers beneath the Pacific floor, the Marianas Research Facility hummed with activity. Originally built to study deep-sea thermal vents, it had been rapidly converted into humanity's most secure xenotechnology laboratory. Here, surrounded by kilometers of rock and seawater, nature's perfect shield against monitoring, Dr. Marcus Wong led a team working to unlock the secrets of the captured hegemony vessels. "The biometric security is like nothing we've seen," Wong explained to Admiral Chen as they passed through 7 security checkpoints. "Their systems are literally alive, semi-organic quantum processors that respond only to Arxian neural patterns." "And yet you cracked them," Chen observed, studying the activity in the main laboratory where dozens of specialists worked on salvaged hegemony tech. Wang's expression flickered between pride and discomfort. "We created artificial Arxian neural fragments, quantum substrate imprinted with synthesized thought patterns derived from brain scans of the surviving crew members." Chen raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. Desperate times. The breakthrough had come 3 days earlier when Dr. Lakshmi Narayan, a quantum consciousness specialist, successfully fooled a hegemony database into believing it was interfacing with an Arctian mind. The security protocols had dissolved, and 20,000 years of hegemony history had cascaded into human servers. In the central display chamber, the walls glowed with projected data, star charts, species classifications, technological development trajectories. General Okafor, now recovered enough to travel, joined them as Wang activated the main holographic array. "This is us," he said, highlighting a small section of a vast taxonomic tree. Or rather, how they categorize us. The hologram expanded to show Earth surrounded by detailed biological and psychological assessments. Wang translated the hegemony classification markers. Death World Emergence, a theoretical category that they created but never expected to encounter. According to their evolutionary models, intelligence shouldn't develop in environments like Earth. "Why not?" Okafor asked. "Because it's too demanding." Wang gestured, and comparative planetary data appeared. Every other spacefaring species evolved on stable, resource-rich worlds with minimal environmental threats and few predators. The Arctians' home planet has no seasons, no tectonic activity, stable orbit, consistent climate, and minimal biodiversity. They evolved in what we consider paradise. The data showed Arctian technological development. 40 millennia from basic agriculture to rudimentary computing, another 20 to achieve spaceflight. Other hegemony species followed similarly languid trajectories. "And us?" Chen asked. Wang displayed the human timeline alongside the others. The contrast was stark. Humanity's technological curve nearly vertical compared to the gradual slopes of other species. They don't understand how we advanced so quickly. What took them 50,000 years, we did in 5,000. The Industrial Revolution to digital age. 3 centuries. Digital to quantum. Less than 1. Okafor studied the data. "They're afraid of us." "Terrified," Wang confirmed. Their xenopsychologists classify our neural architecture as aberrant. They've never encountered a species with our unique parallelism between cooperative and competitive impulses. Our ability to function cohesively while maintaining individual initiative confounds their models. He highlighted a section of the hegemony psychological assessment. Human neural architecture displays simultaneously pronounced cooperative and competitive impulses, a contradictory evolutionary strategy likely resulting from their unprecedented history of intraspecies warfare. Admiral Chen frowned. "Intraspecies warfare. That's what truly shocks them," Wang explained. "Humanity is unique among all cataloged species in having fought over 15,000 recorded large-scale conflicts against our own kind. No other species has this history. They evolved without significant intraspecies competition." The display shifted to hegemony military doctrine, rigid, hierarchical, and unchanged for millennia. Their tactics were designed to overwhelm technologically inferior opponents through sheer force, with little adaptation or innovation. They've never fought an opponent who understood warfare, Okafor realized. They've only ever dominated less developed species. Wang nodded grimly. And there's more. He accessed a classified section of the hegemony archives. This is a containment directive issued shortly after first contact, weeks before the Discovery incident. The directive authorized preemptive security measures against human expansion. The date stamp predated the Discovery's destruction by nearly a month. "It wasn't a misunderstanding," Chen said quietly. "They always intended to subjugate us." "Because they feared what we might become," Wang added. "Their evolutionary models predict that a species with our adaptability and competitive drive would eventually overtake the hegemony, unless contained early." As they digested this information, the facility's quantum sensors detected a massive surge of FTL communications throughout hegemony space. The tactical display lit up with activity markers across dozens of star systems. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. "They're mobilizing everything they have." "We've lost the element of surprise," Okafor noted, "but we've gained understanding." "Knowledge is the greatest weapon," Wang said softly. Now we know what we're truly fighting, not just for our independence, but for our right to exist as we are." Chen nodded, her decision made. Transmit everything we've learned to all human settlements. Activate full military production across all colonies. If they want to see humanity's true capabilities, we'll oblige them. Chaos engulfed the Grand Council chamber on Arxia Prime. Representatives of all 17 hegemony species filled the tiered seats, their translator units struggling to process the overlapping vocalizations. Holographic displays showed the devastating defeat of Zextor's fleet, the most significant military disaster in 7 millennia of hegemony expansion. Silence. The chamber quieted instantly as Supreme Elder Vorax entered, his ancient exoskeleton creaking despite the servo mechanisms supporting his weight. 4 attendants followed, monitoring his life support systems. For the first time since the machine intelligence crisis, Vorax announced, his voice wavering with age, "I invoke Article 7 of the Preservation Protocols." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Article 7 had been established after the only previous existential threat the hegemony had faced, the AI rebellion that nearly destroyed their civilization. It authorized unlimited resource allocation for species preservation. Deep beneath the Arxian capital, in a stasis chamber undisturbed for millennia, ancient machinery hummed to life. Preservation mist evaporated to reveal a massive Arxian form. Grand Warmaster Urthax, the legendary military leader preserved in suspended animation for civilization-level emergencies. Consciousness flooded Urthax's newly cloned body, his compound eyes, adjusting to light for the first time in thousands of years, took in the anxious faces of the hegemony's current military leadership. "The humans have defeated Zextor's pacification fleet," explained Supreme Elder Vorax, his mandibles quivering with exhaustion from the short journey. 30 vessels lost to a supposedly pre-adaptive species. Urthax's primary manipulators tapped the neural interface, absorbing combat data with military precision. "Show me their tactics," he commanded. The holographic display revealed the battle in Sol's system. Urthax's compound eyes narrowed as he watched human vessels executing maneuvers no hegemony tactical doctrine recognized. "You've grown soft," he told the assembled admiralty, his voice carrying the weight of millennia. "You fight only the weak and expect all battles to follow doctrine." These humans, he studied the footage of Captain Singh's sacrifice, the coordinated yet independent squadron attacks. They understand real war. Urthax turned to the council. "I require 300 capital ships with full support squadrons. Conscript from all member worlds. Activate the deep storage arsenals." "That would be the largest fleet assembled since the Unification Wars," protested the Palaxian representative, fur bristling. "Precisely," Urthax replied. "Because these humans represent a similar level of threat." Across human space, a different kind of mobilization unfolded. The United Systems Parliament convened in its underground chamber beneath the Himalayan mountains, where quantum-dampening fields prevented any possibility of surveillance. General Okafor, now Chief of Defense, presented the Scorched Earth strategy. "We cannot defend every colony simultaneously against a force of this size. Instead, we evacuate all non-essential personnel from outer settlements, leaving behind automated defense systems programmed to inflict maximum damage before self-destruction." "Surrender territory," a colonial representative objected. "The political implications are irrelevant if we're conquered," Admiral Chen interrupted. "The hegemony doesn't understand strategic withdrawal. It violates their territorial instincts. We'll use that blind spot against them." Meanwhile, Dr. Wong and his team prepared humanity's most guarded technological secret. In a secure facility beneath Europa's ice crust, they activated the Distributed Defense Network, a quantum-entangled system originally designed for coordinating disaster relief during Earth's climate crisis. "The DDN will allow our ships to coordinate with hive mind efficiency while maintaining individual tactical initiative," Wong explained to the military observers. It combines centralized strategy with decentralized execution in a way the hierarchical hegemony cannot comprehend. As the massive hegemony armada entered human space, they encountered the first phase of humanity's strategy. At New Titan Colony, Earthax's forces found only abandoned settlements and clever automated defenses that inflicted significant damage before self-destructing. Drone swarms emerged from hidden bunkers, targeting hegemony communications arrays with precision strikes. Varied antimatter charges detonated as ships landed, claiming 12 vessels before the hegemony realized no humans remained to be subjugated. Similar scenes played out across 6 more colonies. Each abandoned settlement contained data caches deliberately left for the invaders. Earth's historical records of warfare, from ancient Sun Tzu texts to modern conflict simulations. In his command center aboard the dreadnought Inevitable Victory, Earthax studied these puzzling human artifacts alongside the pattern of their systematic withdrawal. They're sacrificing territory for strategic advantage, he observed, conceding the outer systems to consolidate their forces. His subordinates shifted uncomfortably. Such behavior violates basic territorial imperatives. Warmaster, no species willingly abandons their worlds. Perhaps, Earthax replied, mandibles clicking thoughtfully as he examined a translated copy of The Art of War left prominently in an abandoned human command center. We understand less about the nature of conflict than we believed. The ancient Warmaster's compound eyes narrowed. They're drawing us toward their core systems. The question is, are we walking into their trap, or are they retreating before our might? On Earth, as civilian evacuations continued, Admiral Chen reviewed the reports of hegemony fleet movements with grim satisfaction. They're following the path we've laid out, she told the Defense Council. Earthax is taking the bait. All forces prepare for Phase 2 engagement at Alpha Centauri. Alpha Centauri's binary stars cast overlapping shadows across the assembled human fleet. The system that housed humanity's first extrasolar colony now served as the chosen battlefield. Commander Kira Yoshida sat in her fighter's cockpit, running pre-combat checks while observing the deployment through her neural link to the distributed defense network. To conventional sensors, the human armada appeared arranged in a standard defensive formation, a textbook deployment that any first-year hegemony tactical officer would recognize as vulnerable to encirclement. The apparent clumsiness of the arrangement was deliberate. Yoshida's fingers closed around a small wooden charm hanging from her control panel, her grandfather's YE service medallion, worn smooth by generations of nervous thumbs before battle. Phoenix Squadron, final systems check, she ordered, her calm voice belying the tension coiling in her stomach. DDN synchronization at 97%. Remember your history, people. Today we're channeling the ancient warriors of Thermopylae. The what? Asked her youngest pilot. 300 Spartans against 1,000,000 Persians, Yoshida explained. They lost the battle but won the war. Sometimes the best victory comes from making your defeat extremely costly. The quantum alert chimed, signaling the detection of spatial distortions at the system's edge. The hegemony armada had arrived. 300 capital ships with escort vessels, the largest military force assembled in known galactic history. Aboard his flagship Inevitable Victory, Warmaster Earthax studied the human deployment with suspicion. The formation was too obvious, almost inviting encirclement. His instincts, honed in conflicts that predated most current hegemony citizens' ancestry, sensed deception. Analysis of human formation, he demanded. His tactical officer's mandibles clicked confidently. Standard defensive posture, Warmaster. Their numbers are significantly less than our intelligence estimated. Recommend standard encirclement protocol. Earthax hesitated. The human tactics at Sol had been anything but standard, yet his subordinates, trained in rigid hegemony doctrine, saw only an inferior force arrayed for destruction. Proceed with the encirclement, he reluctantly ordered, but maintain heightened alert status. These humans have proven unpredictable. As the hegemony fleet divided to surround the human forces, Commander Yoshida activated her neural link to the DDN. Thermopylae protocol is active, she announced to her squadron. Ancient Sparta sends its regards. What followed shocked even Eurthax's battle-hardened sensibilities. The seemingly conventional human formation dissolved into what appeared to be chaotic individual actions, but was actually a complex battle plan drawing from thousands of years of Earth's military history. Fighter squadrons executed maneuvers inspired by Mongol horsemen, feigning retreat to draw hegemony pursuers into micro-wormholes that relocated the pursuing ships directly into the firing lanes of hidden human destroyers. Corvette wings employed guerrilla tactics from Earth's jungle warfare doctrines, materializing from the solar corona's radiation shadow, striking and vanishing before retaliation. Most bewildering to the hegemony commanders was the humans' ability to coordinate despite complete communication blackout. Unknown to them, the quantum-entangled DDN functioned regardless of conventional jamming. On the third day of battle, a damaged human cruiser, the Defiant, implemented what human military history called a kamikaze maneuver, deliberately ramming the hegemony command carrier unyielding order after calculating that its remaining weapons could not penetrate the larger ship's shields. The kinetic impact shattered both vessels, killing all aboard but eliminating the hegemony's secondary command structure. They sacrificed themselves willingly, reported a shaken hegemony captain. The crew had time to evacuate but chose to remain aboard to ensure accurate impact. By the battle's fifth day, Eurthax recognized the pattern emerging in the seemingly chaotic human maneuvers. Each engagement, while appearing desperate, actually controlled the flow of battle toward specific vectors, corridors leading away from Earth. A captured human escape pod delivered to his flagship contained a wounded navigator who, despite his injuries, laughed when interrogated about human strategy. "You still don't understand what you're fighting," the navigator said through bloodied teeth. "You think we're protecting colonies. We're protecting evacuation routes. Earth isn't just our homeworld. It's where we learn to survive against everything nature could throw at us. And now you're heading straight there." His laughter turned to coughing. "Good luck with that." After 7 days of grinding combat that claimed half his fleet, Eurthax made a desperate calculation. Despite heavy losses, the humans appeared to be protecting retreat vectors toward their home system. All species had deep biological imperatives to defend their birthplace. "We will bypass their trap and strike directly at Earth," he announced to his war council. "All remaining vessels will perform a coordinated jump to the Sol system. They cannot have maintained significant defenses there while committing forces here." As his fleet prepared for the jump, Eurthax studied the tactical display showing the wreckage-strewn Centauri system. His species had no concept for the emotion humans called admiration for an enemy, but he felt something unprecedented as he watched the remaining human vessels continuing to fight despite hopeless odds. "These humans understand sacrifice in ways we do not," he told his executive officer. "We've studied conquest for millennia. They've studied warfare as an art form." The officer's mandibles clicked nervously. "Are you concerned, Warmaster?" Eurthax's compound eyes reflected the light of the binary stars. "I am, recalculating our assumptions. Prepare for jump to Sol. Let us see if their homeworld breaks their spirit where our weapons could not." The remnants of Eurthax's once mighty armada emerged from FTL at the edge of the Sol system, weapons charged and ready for humanity's last stand. 147 capital ships remained from the original 300, a devastating loss by hegemony standards, but still enough firepower to reduce Earth's surface to molten slag. Yet where Eurthax expected to find desperate defenses, he encountered nothing. No orbital platforms bristling with weapons, no minefields, no battle fleets. Earth hung in space before them, apparently defenseless. Long-range scans detected human populations going about their business on the surface. Children in schools, workers in offices, farmers tending fields, all seemingly unconcerned about the approaching armada. Analysis, Eurthax demanded, compound eyes narrowing with suspicion. "Minimal military presence detected," Warmaster reported his sensor officer. Civilian patterns appear normal across all population centers. No evidence of planetary evacuation or martial law. It's a deception, Earthax insisted. Deep scans, full spectrum. For 3 hours, the Hegemony fleet conducted intensive scanning while maintaining position at the system's edge. Every analysis returned the same result. Earth was virtually undefended. Perhaps they committed all forces to Alpha Centauri, suggested his second-in-command. Their homeworld would be a fitting trophy to end this conflict. Earthax's ancestral instincts screamed warning, but the evidence seemed clear. After another hour of cautious approach and continued scanning, he finally ordered the fleet to enter high Earth orbit. Prepared to broadcast surrender terms, he commanded, still searching for the trap his tactical mind insisted must exist. As the Hegemony ships moved into optimal bombardment position, the true nature of humanity's defense revealed itself. Space rippled as thousands of stealth fields simultaneously deactivated. Human warships materialized everywhere, not just surrounding the Hegemony fleet, but interspersed between their formation, having shadowed the alien vessels since their arrival using gravitational lensing technology that bent light and sensor readings around them. On Earthax's tactical display, the situation became immediately clear. Each remaining Hegemony vessel had multiple human weapons locked on it from point-blank range. The trap wasn't just set. They were already inside it. The human flagship, Thermopylae, transmitted a message displayed on all Hegemony screens. Admiral Chen appeared, her uniform bearing memorial insignia for every human lost in the conflict. War Master Earthax, she began, her voice calm and measured. You never understood what you were fighting. Humans don't fear war. We were forged by it. Our earliest civilizations were built by warriors. Our greatest scientific advances came during conflicts. We don't simply adapt to survive. We evolve to win. The camera panned to reveal General Okafor standing beside her, scars from the Discovery incident still visible on her face. But we also know something your Hegemony has forgotten. Okafor continued. We know when to end conflicts. We understand the true cost of war because we've paid it countless times throughout our history. This is your one opportunity to choose peace. Silence hung across all channels as Earthax contemplated options that no longer existed. For the first time in his long military career, spanning conflicts across thousands of years, he recognized true defeat. More importantly, he finally understood why humans were different. They had the power to destroy his fleet utterly, to eliminate the Hegemony's capacity for war in a single stroke. Yet they offered terms instead. Open a channel, he commanded. When Chen's face appeared on his screen, Earthax performed the ancient Arxian gesture of respect, lowering all 4 eye stalks simultaneously, a position of vulnerability no Arxian would normally assume before a potential enemy. I accept your terms, Admiral, he stated, and I request permission to return to the Hegemony not as your prisoner, but as your emissary. My people must understand what I now see clearly. In the peace negotiations that followed, humanity demonstrated another quality that the Hegemony found bewildering: magnanimity in victory. Rather than demanding reparations or territory, humans asked only for recognition as equals and autonomy over their development. 6 months later, in the Grand Archives on Arxia Prime, Supreme Archivist Telmar updated the official xenobiological classification systems. With Earthax watching, she created a new entry titled Warning to All Species and began to input. They are not like us. They were born on a world that tried to kill them, evolved alongside predators that hunted them, and spent thousands of years fighting themselves. Through this crucible, they developed both unmatched martial prowess and profound understanding of war's cost. When we attacked them, we did not start a war. We merely entered one that had been going on since they first walked upright. Telmar paused, looking to Earthax for guidance on how to conclude the entry. The ancient War Master, who had seen more battles than any living being in the galaxy, considered carefully before answering. In humanity, the galaxy has found its most dangerous species, and perhaps in time, its greatest defenders. For they alone understand that true strength lies not in conquering others, but in the wisdom to know when not to use the power you possess.